Welcome to the Innovative Pedagogy Podcast, where we inquire with the greatest minds in academia, where innovation, creativity, and authenticity meet the best teaching and learning practices for educators all over the world. Most importantly, hoping all those we come in touch with leave inspired and ready to change their world. Here's our host, Chris Garcia.
All right. Welcome to the Innovative Pedagogy Podcast. I am your host, Chris Garcia. Today, we're exploring how educational leadership and efficient spending go hand in hand. Joining me is Dr. Jennette Vanderpool, Education Client Executive at CDW. She is a former school administrator and board member, and someone who has spent more than 20 years helping schools make smarter, more strategic investments in learning. Jennette, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thanks for having me, Chris. I'm excited. I always love talking to you.
Absolutely. And I really appreciate just your relationship and just your investment and your support through many educational initiatives, from just connecting as a CDW, just a representative, and also just being a supporter of our region and esports. And you were actually a very key in being a judge this last March for our Minecraft esports tournament. So I definitely want to thank you again for doing that.
Yeah, thanks for including me in that. That was so much fun and eye-opening onto really the judging side of Minecraft and really what's entailed with all those kids and all the work that all of you do. So if Chris ever asks you to be a judge, it was good.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And before we get into the nitty-gritty of some of these questions and talking about money, because that's a sensitive topic sometimes for some individuals, and sometimes even one where a lot of administrators walk on eggshells and whatnot. But let's talk a little bit more about your educational background and the great work that you're doing with CDW. If you don't mind just sharing us a little bit more about what got you into education and where you are at now.
Oh my gosh, how much time do we have? Okay, so what got me into education is my mom. She's a speech pathologist. And so after going to school with her, then I decided I want to become an adapted PE teacher because I loved PE, but I also loved working with students with special needs. So I became an adapted PE teacher. And then I was chairperson for the California State Council on Adapted PE. And then I switched over and became a professor of education for Azusa Pacific University. Started on my doctorate at USC, met some friends over with a local school district, and then I became an administrator. So I became a site administrator and then a district administrator in special education. And then 3 years ago, I decided to, after 20 years, decided to make a big switch. And I ran for school board and won and became school board for a local district out here. And then an education strategist for CDW. So my role as an education strategist, there is 6 of us for the country. And we're all former district administrators. And we just support school districts, helping identify solutions to problems. And guess what? Everybody's got the same problems, people. We need to break down those silos, talking about spending, school safety, how to start an esports program, cybersecurity, you name it. Everybody's got the same problems. And by able to support all of California, all of Hawaii, and Clark County, I loved being able to connect people like yourself. I've had you reach out to other colleagues within the district so that for people to know that we're not alone, and how different districts of similar size and makeup have efficiently and effectively solved those problems. But now I'm the education client executive, and I serve LAUSD, LA County Office of Education, and the entire state of Hawaii. And I love San Diego, so I still get to help you guys.
Yeah, and you're not too far from us. And I really appreciate just the relationships that you've built and some of my colleagues at the LA County Office of Education. And it's just, I'm realizing very quickly when you are in these types of roles, relationships are key, building relationships, building rapport, and at the same time, being honest, because these challenges that we're facing are very similar. And hey, sometimes somebody finds a breakthrough, and I mean, sharing is caring, and being able to support each other is extremely crucial in this day and age that we live in right now.
Oh, 100%. And, I think people can lose focus. I mean, even as an administrator, too, I mean, it's so stressful.
Mhm.
But then when you're working on like the corporate side of the house with vendors and partners, you're a parent. If you're a parent, you're a new dad. That
Yeah,
that is the lens that you have. The clients that we all are ultimately serving are children, and
right.
helping create children that have are going to have a great future and valuable members of society, and we want them to be happy. And then the people that serve those children, so teachers, support staff, and administrators. And then everybody's a taxpayer, so
Right.
you want school districts, everybody should want a school district to have efficient spending, to be able to do the most for children and staff, because it's still coming out of your pocket too. So I
That's
think
true.
people forget that part as well. So no overspending, but you want to have the impact.
And that's a nice segue to our first question because you have a lot of experience, and we talked about how things look very differently as a classroom teacher going into administration, and then you've had the opportunity of being a board member and now working with a variety of school districts. So let's encapsulate all of those experiences that you've just like shared with us for the last 20 plus years. So what have those experiences taught you about what efficient spending really means in education?
First thing is you need to look at total cost of implementation. What does it actually cost to implement a program from beginning to end? And also meaning that you need to have professional development in place. Say you're going to buy a bunch of 3D printers.
Mhm.
Let's just keep it simple with that. 3D
Yeah.
printers. You're going to buy those. Well, you want to make sure you're getting at a good the price that your district can afford. But what about professional development? Are the teachers actually going to know how to utilize these? Are you buying the right kind of printers that are appropriate for elementary versus middle school versus high school for CTE programs? Very different.
Right, right.
What about the warranty? How long are they going to be sitting at the school before they're actually opened up? Is the warranty going to be in place and ongoing? Filament. What kind of curriculum are you going to have? I know you guys are always like, well,
Yeah.
um, but and that is one thing too. So is it yeah, how much filament do you need to be able to implement the curriculum that comes along with that? Does the 3D printer company that you're getting it for have a curriculum that goes along with it? So we really need to sit down and look at those from not just, hey, let me buy some printers. You really need to break it down by program, training, warranty, and then also the filament and how the filament, you have enough filament to connect it to the curriculum that you're implementing for your outcomes. So that's just one simple example
Yeah, yeah.
that I can give, like that you really need to stop and think about all the different details. And if it's coming to your department, you're like, oh, I was just told, we need 3,000 3D printers, then and you're going to be trusting from the people requesting it that that's already done. But then that's where people like me come in, and we're doing a cross departmental conversation of making
Mhm.
sure that we've truly covered that total cost and budgeting for that appropriately.
And this is a question, it's not one that I put down that we kind of reviewed before, but as you're saying this, you're also igniting some thoughts that I've had when it comes to even just as a teacher and hearing sometimes these initiatives. I was always for innovation and like let's always go forward. But I always had some of those colleagues that were like, wait a second, and they would ask other questions when it comes to uh, just as far as like how long are these pieces of technology going to last, whether that be a 3D printer, an iPad, a Chromebook, the
Yep.
warranty of this, the companies that are actually putting these together. So, like, should there be even some sort of needs assessment or town hall meeting or something where teachers can also be potentially buying into these innovative ideas and these ways of like this is how we're going to be spending the money so that way they're not caught off guard. Like what is your take on that?
So I'm glad you said that, because So last year I sat on 12 different AI task forces, and
Okay.
we can talk about that in a minute. But as a result from that, I strongly encourage districts to shift to DTACs, so District Technology Advisory Councils,
Mhm.
where all the important stakeholders can come together and talk about the innovative technology that's coming up, but then still have those curricular conversations, those professional development. Always include your cybersecurity team, your ed tech coordinator, because you need to have that 20,000 foot look at what's going on. And I say this because, when I was an administrator in special ed, I would just order things maybe with my card and it wasn't the best quality, or I would just tell my IT department what I needed, but I didn't really know. It wasn't more until I got into the assistive technology side of the house that I
Mhm.
understood the important relationship between my curricular and theoretical side versus the actual hardware and services people that actually knew, like, about firewalls and all of,
Yes.
there's reasons, like, if you are getting kids, eye gaze machines, which are very, very, very expensive but amazing and beautiful, kids can actually communicate well. If my department is just purchasing those but not communicating with the cybersecurity department or IT department, and then they get those and the kids can't use the eye gaze machines because of blocks in the extensions, that's a miscommunication right there. And if we had something like a DTAC in place, we could have thought that out and planned for it before the purchase and the implementation, so there's no downtime for the student. There are just so many opportunities and topics for DTACs that I think districts should form.
And you bring up a very important point, especially as October is recognized as National Cybersecurity Month. One of the things when it comes to district IT that I recently learned was the types of even accessories and that we're using when it comes to Wi-Fi or network capability, because some of these accessories that are being sold out there, sometimes we might get it from like Amazon or whatnot, like, oh, I got this for my classroom, how can I have IT? And yet the infrastructure and the integrity of those pieces of devices uh, could have actually put a potential threat to the school. And I
Yeah.
didn't know that until one of my
Yeah.
cybersecurity friends. Yeah, and like that's why it's important to have them involved with these conversations, because they actually know the threats of even actual hardware that could influence the data breaches that sometimes we hear about at schools.
Yeah. And which just means we need to come together as a team and
Yeah.
find a solution that does meet that criteria. And I always say you don't know what you don't know till you don't know it. I mean, we're not taught that in credential programs or
No, no.
administrator programs.
Yeah.
And now there's more of a shift because computer science is going to be part of the California Commission on Teaching Credentialing Standards. I said that. I actually got that out. Um, so we are seeing a shift in mindset and appreciation of that. But um, yeah, and it's nobody's fault. It's just, I went to school to learn a certain thing,
Right.
and
Right.
it wasn't about firewalls.
Correct.
But I mean, now, oh my goodness. But even headsets
Yeah.
are headsets. I mean, think about the testing is coming up and whatnot. Like, you have a class of 25 students, but you're having to buy 200 headsets because they keep breaking. Like, maybe you should have started off with a little higher quality. And even those, if they plug in, sometimes there's an issue with, like if you have wireless, I mean, you want to wonder how the connection is handled with that and
Yeah.
data. I mean, there's little things that it's just important to just have conversations. And I don't think enough conversations are happening.
Correct. And I mean, it goes back down to the phrase that we've always heard. It does take a village to raise a child.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It
But
really, really does.
let's talk a little about smart decision making. So right now, the reality is budgets are tight.
Hmm.
And because of that, a lot of decisions are being made or not being made. And where do you think districts should focus first when they have a tight budget?
So I think data disaggregation is important, but being able to get that data in a safe and effective and accurate manner, that's what we're seeing a lot of districts don't currently have. So, like, for example, Google Agent Space or Authentica are two of my favorite right now. And that will actually pull data from all departments in the district so you can see where you're spending. And you can start easiest on apps. What kind of apps do you have that are redundant? Do you literally have 125 apps that you're paying little subscriptions to here and there that ultimately all do the same thing? Look at that, pick your top 3, or do an inventory or with among your teachers of which ones do they like the best. Then I really like perceived choices. And then you can come back as a district, because you need to look at, if you are a decentralized district in funding, that means that the school sites have a specific allocation and they can be just going directly to the vendor and purchasing individual things without the district actually knowing. So it's important to have those, like I said, Google Agent Space or Authentica in place so that you can actually see where those individual spendings are, because I guarantee you, you might be approaching that threshold that just purchasing a district level license is actually cheaper, and you could give it to the entire district for what people are just individually spending at school sites. I see it all the time. And me and my team, the CD that we keep track of that, will be like, okay, we're hitting that maybe 40% threshold. This is going to start costing the district money, and we'll have those conversations. What was that is a big one. Even on the cybersecurity side, it's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, right?
Yeah.
Going in, taking inventory of all you have. You have Palo Alto, you have Cisco, you have Fortinet, you have Google, you have all of these different platforms, perhaps, that you're utilizing securely. Go Guardian. Yeah, there's a lot of different ones that might be overlapping, and so upon an assessment, you will see that you could actually maybe narrow it down to just a few of those that are still highly impacted, doing what you need for the district. So actually spending some money to do an inventory of what you have, and then cutting back on redundant efforts. There's a lot of redundant efforts out there.
Yeah. And as you're saying that, you're reminding me of just different platforms that provide the same services, and you're paying for both.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and I specifically can say, I know of a district that had a multi-factor authentication, and they were paying for 2 different ones. And they were like, wait a second. So to cut budget, they actually is like, we'll get rid of one of them because one of the other ones is already embedded with this entire all-in-one service that we already have. So it's just simple way of, I think we do the same thing though individually when it comes to like our streaming subscriptions and anything else that we may have, like
That's a perfect example. Yeah, on your Roku or whatever, like, how can I just do one pretty little package instead of all of these individual ones? Yeah.
Right. It's that whole argument now where people are like, well, I'm going to cut the cord and not do cable. But then yet when you add up all the streaming services they have, like, wait, I'm actually paying more than I paid for cable. So it's like, hey, just do that inventory yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, and then those DTAC meetings, but have it being at a higher level with all departments. So you're having maintenance and operations, food services, STEAM, CTE, curriculum and instruction, special education, ed tech, IT. Have everybody together, because you are going to see so many different redundant efforts. Like I can say, I've seen where the STEAM department, which could be their own category, and they run after school robotics programs, drones, you name it. Esports could even would fall under that as well. But maybe they're going to purchase all this equipment that was actually already purchased with ELOC funds from an entirely different program altogether. So when these people speak like, oh, we already have those 3D printers in place, or, oh, we already have the drones in place, or yeah. So as a district, just understanding what the different departments already have in place is another key that a lot of districts don't have. Like, you have your executive, as a board member, you have your executive cabinet that speaks. But guess what? Your assistant superintendent or director or executive director at that level isn't knowing all of these individual purchases that are happening. They're talking about problems and finding solutions to that, but we aren't talking about the individual expenditures across the board.
Right, right. No, and that's essential because I love the example you were saying earlier. Like if there's schools that have specific subscriptions for different services, the district could pretty much just give it to everyone else and be saving a lot more money by doing it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that's the easiest one, just taking inventory. And then there's the services that can do that for you. Bless you. There are the services that can do that for you. Because you do need to be able to pull in a safe manner the information. And then you can also use that for student behavior. And there's a lot of
Hmm.
different things. And asking those partners that you bring in, I mean, let's say if you don't use CDW, fine. But if you ask those partners what else they do, you brought them in
Yes.
to solve a certain issue. Great. What else is it that you guys do? Because when you get into these meetings with partners, they're just there to talk about the one thing that you wanted to ask about,
Mm,
right? Maybe like
yeah.
cloud storage or whatnot. What else can they do? And then you can consolidate efforts, but then you also want to check and make sure that everything that they do is mature, meaning on the cybersecurity side of the house, that data is safely secured. They have enough staff to support you, because you have to think about your bandwidth as a district, your capabilities. Like you only have so many people and so much time. You
Right.
really want to get the value out of that partner, effective and efficient spending. Like make them work for you.
Yeah. No, why not? I mean,
Yeah.
you're gonna start a probably long contract with them and at the same time build that relationship and hey,
Mhm.
let's make our time worthwhile.
Yeah, but keeping that total cost in
Hmm.
outside of just the hardware and the service, that's imperative. And even something too, like cheaper isn't necessarily always better. I mean, money's money, and if that's what you have, that's what you have. But you
Right,
also
right.
have to think like, okay, we're able to get it down to this super, super low price, which it might even be just the at cost price where the company's not even making any money, but they're like, okay, we can use this as a great case study on our marketing to say, like, hey, we're in San Diego County Office of Ed or whatnot.
Yeah.
But then you have to think about, okay, how does that negatively impact their research and development to actually make the product better? What about a warranty? What about the service, the customer service? Am I still, if I would have paid, a little bit more, do I still get that customer service that comes along with that? Do I get access to the other features, or is it going to be cut back to just this one thing? So ask those questions as well
I
of
love
what you're
it.
actually getting.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And I want to kind of also just kind of talk more about CEW, but then also just when it comes to innovation and future ready investments and whatnot. So a lot of classroom modernization is happening right now, especially in 2025, with trends that are driving just smarter spending, and especially around AI, cybersecurity, and sustainability. So,
Yeah.
what are some of the modern trends that you're noticing with those and maybe other ones that we might not be aware of right now?
Ah, so I just had a classroom modernization presentation was it yesterday? What's today? Yeah, so a couple days ago,
Yeah.
whatever day it is. And I love this. So my doctorate's educational psych leadership with an emphasis in ed psych. So how the brain works in the learning process. So I always like to, whenever we're doing the classroom modernizations presentations, I bring it back to Maslow's theory of hierarchy, when
Mm-hmm.
you start with the physical self, and then you can move into the self-esteem, and then into learning. And that's how you have to think about setting up the classroom. So
Mm,
you want the classroom with the start basic with the furniture, right? High, low desktop so a student can stand up. Do you want wobbly seats so the students, like, ADHD, can get the wobbles out? Do you have more of an emotional learning space with couches? Do you have that? That is a more modern way to meet the human's physical needs. Getting rid of the what we call the teacher castle, where they would just have their big old desk that takes up an eighth of the classroom
yeah.
and papers piled high. Maybe a standing desk, a standing sit down desk where the teacher can actually move around the classroom. Audio and visual are still we all of the new schools that we're
Yeah.
designing, because we can design, I'm not, again, we could have blueprints to design that it's a free design for any classroom or any gym, boardroom, any space that they'll just design it for you with all the audio visual specs and the layout. But at the end, if you have audio done in your roof, and there's all different kinds, you could just get a freestanding tower, you can get it spaced out throughout the classroom. That allows for even disbursement of sound. The teacher at the end, we all know, like when you get to your 5th or 6th period class, your voice is gone.
It
right?
is.
It's
It is.
exhausting. So the same level of energy that those later period classes get from you versus like your periods 1 to 3 is very different. But also maybe students that are deaf and hard of hearing or hard of hearing, that they need, if no more writing in the IEP, student will be placed at the front of the class so that the student can hear better.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
the whole, you're addressing all the UDL practices, Universal Design for Learning. For those that are listening, you're like, what's all these
Yes.
acronyms?
I love me some UDL. Yeah, side note, if you don't know what UDL is, please look it up. See if your district has training on UDL. It's the most important thing out there for teaching in classrooms. But yeah, so audio is extremely important. And again, we want to get teachers away from the front of the classroom. You want them to be engaged with students, walking through, building that camaraderie, and then being able, not just, we don't want to see those rows anymore. And then visual as well. So what you'll see is interactive flat panels, or maybe short throw projectors is another one. The ones that you don't have to have mounted in the ceilings anymore. You can just move them around to where, and then they'll cast. But the interactive flat panels, and you might see maybe one interactive in the front of the traditional front of the class, and then a casting solution to the side of the class, so you can do small grouping and the children don't have to be straining their eyes to see what you're doing.
Right.
One thing that I'm seeing, even for translation services, is something to think about for Classroom Modernization. I love a company called Translate Live, and they actually interact with New Line panels now, or you can get the individual kiosks, or it's an app or a website that the student can, but it does an auditory translation to that student whose first language is not English. And
Wow.
it doesn't save, and since it's cybersecurity it doesn't save any conversation. It's up to the district if you want to save. Otherwise, you speak and it's gone. There's no tracking of it, which is
Very
huge
cool.
in districts, because I know a lot of teachers don't like that. But think about, this is another, when we're speaking about modern learning, you have a student, an ELL student, level 1, 2, or 3, right? So that just changes their, how much English they actually understand. When you see, they could have a paraeducator with them that's doing the translation. That's not always best, because they're having to, pay attention to the person. They're trying to pay attention to the teacher as well. And they're missing what's up on the board or being projected on the screen. Also, closed captioning. I mean, that's great for our deaf and hard of hearing students, but that's not great when you have to read the captioning. But what if they're doing geometry? Or they're doing a history lesson? You need to be looking at what's on the board or making eye contact with the teacher, and they could just have the earbuds in like you're wearing right now, and it's translated same time in a real person's voice. It's a great use of AI,
Right.
and it translates. So stuff like that, where we can just work more efficiently as well. Like, there's a lot of amazing things in classroom modernization happening right now.
Hey, and just to give the shameless plug in there, I take it TEW can connect every school with all of these resources.
We have a whole classroom modernization team. We have people dedicated to esports, classroom modernization, cybersecurity, physical security. Yeah. Shameless plug. Go, Chris.
Why not? I mean, of course,
not?
I'm a supporter of that. And are there any school examples? I mean, if people actually want to look up a school and you're like, oh, this is a great example of a school where we modernized it as a CDW team, where you can see these resources in action right now.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if they would have it on their actual website at this time. But we've done stuff with Chafee Union, Coachella. That has a lot of new schools being built.
Okay.
So Coachella would be an amazing opportunity. Palm Springs, got everywhere, up in Fresno, all throughout the country. There's a lot of it. You see a lot of bond money being utilized for this, but then you also see different title funds as well. So typically a new school is built with bond money.
Right.
And so they're starting out on a great foot, but retrofitting can be done through bond as well. I would start with furniture. Yeah, the three areas: it's furniture, audio, and visual.
That
Those
makes
are
sense.
the three main things.
That makes sense. And I'm thinking of any kind of room, and even of esports, you need the
Yep.
furniture. And then even with the audio and the visual, that's going to be huge also, because you're going to want people to spectate and to visualize and look at how, I mean, that can look like. And then of course, I know you all have the connections and relationships with who do you all work with when it comes to for the esport like computer systems?
Oh, you can do it. Dell, HP. Those are probably the two most. Oh, Asus. Those are the three that would be up there. But I mean, it's everybody. It just depends on your current infrastructure and what
Okay,
works. It might just be the simple Nintendo Switches that you're
that
starting
too.
off with, right? As we know, everybody has to start somewhere.
Right.
But tell me what you think about this. I think this is one. I like to keep things simple, like the non-tech piece. When you're purchasing chairs for your esports, make sure that they're weighted correctly so that if the kids get all excited, they're not tipping back. Don't just
I
go on Amazon and just like purchase a $60 chair. Save yourself a lawsuit and actually speak to the professionals about
I
the chairs.
I completely agree. Yes, get some chairs that are of value because these kids, they will react when they're playing the games.
Yeah,
So
which is good, but we
it
just don't
is.
want anybody flipping back. And then also the desks that can raise and lower, they don't necessarily all have to be that way, but if you have students who are utilizing wheelchairs, you want it to be more accessible for them. So make sure you have, at least 2 or 3 desks that can raise or lower to meet those students' needs.
That's a great point. It's a great point with accessibility and access to those students. Um, the last question I want to talk about is just leadership and just more of the leadership mindset. And
Mhm.
if you could leave district leaders and county leaders and school leaders with one mindset shift about spending, what would it be?
Oh my gosh, one. So, first defining the difference between a leader and a manager, right? So, if you're going to be a leader in this space for efficient spending, we need to go back to cross-departmental communication.
Mm,
What is it that you already have? What is it that you need? And how can I help fill in those gaps to make sure that we're accounting for that total cost of implementation? Don't just buy things to buy them and because somebody told you to. Stop and just take an extra 30 seconds to say, what problem is this actually solving? And then anytime that you can relate it back to your LCAP in the IT department, you're like, LCAP, what? But the other side of it is that we have these outcomes that we have to show to the state. And, what is it that we're actually solving for our clients who are the students getting this solution? Because that's what I would be asking as a board member.
right, right.
These high spend costs, like what are we actually solving? And is it done in an effective and efficient way?
Yeah. And those listening, at LCAP stands for local accountability plan.
Oh,
That
yeah.
each district or local control accountability plan that each district adheres to the state of California. I found out also that other states use, I guess, the word district improvement plans as well. It's pretty
Yes.
much they're very similar, and it's kind of
Yes.
semantics, but always taking it back to that. That's something I'm always encouraging when anytime anyone wants to build an esports program or any innovative program, tie it back to your LCAP, because that's
Yeah.
huge. But I love the idea of just already collaborating with who your team is and just asking questions. It's almost just like, hey, does anyone know? Do we have resources for this? And if you get
What do we
people
already
involved,
have?
right? And
Yeah.
that's already saving money.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not happening nearly enough, but I absolutely, and it's not to make anybody be like, oh my gosh, but you have such limited time. And I
Yeah,
get that. And if we can just carve out an hour every month, even with your team, and maybe increase it from there of just coming together. Okay, what do we have? What plans do we have? And actually carving out time to take inventory of what you have. Because once you then, that would be the first step into doing that cross-departmental conversation, is having everybody take inventory of what it is that they have. And you don't have to make it crazy insane. Just let's start with, when it comes to ed tech in this specific program,
Right.
what do we currently have? For cybersecurity, let's look at all the different partners that we're utilizing, and let's do an assessment on that. So start small, and then you can expand and see how those features can work in those other departments or areas as well.
Awesome. Well,
Hey, you
Jennette,
know what?
yes,
Wait, don't
yes,
finish. I want to give a shout, since it's Cybersecurity Month, I want to give a shout out to Alvaro Brito, and
yes,
then yourself and LAUSD, everybody who's doing these Cyber Patriots or Cisco Academy or Cyber Cups. So I'm seeing a lot of districts combine esports and cyber cups, like actual cyber programs where they do those cyber competitions.
yes.
I just think that those are amazing, and just another extension of different ways to get kids engaged, but then still making it career oriented and giving them valuable, like, so when they graduate, a lot of these kids can be employable,
Yeah.
and seeing that happening and being innovators. And I absolutely love that.
No, I love it. And yeah, Alvaro and a lot of the teams that is up there at LA County Office of Education, and others that are out there as well, LAUSD and Compton, they amazing things that they're all doing when it comes to esports and cybersecurity. I recently found out that they're actually, get this, and you will appreciate this stat, and that is LA County Office of Education, San Diego County Office of Education. If we combine forces, which there's been a lot of collaboration between our cybersecurity teams and
Yeah,
innovative teams, that's 1/3 of the state of California already.
I know.
So
Let's
it's
do
like,
this.
yeah,
Let's do
right.
this.
I know.
Yes.
So shout out to Project Voltron. So you need to ask them later on when you talk about what that is.
Okay.
And but I want to thank you, Jennette, for just being with us today and
Yeah.
talking a little bit about just your expertise, your leadership, your experiences, and how you can support schools as well. And if you'd like to learn more about CDW's educational partnerships, check out the links in the episode notes. We'll also leave Jennette's email there, so if you want to get a hold of her, and she can get you in contact with the right person. If you're not in her region, then she has her connections with everyone else across the United States as well. And I am Chris Garcia, and I want to thank you all for listening today to the Innovative Pedagogy Podcast. If you have any questions or would like to reach out, please send me an email at cbgarcia@sandiego.edu, or feel free to visit my website at garciaedtech.com. All right, everyone, thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day.